Thousands of years ago, the Earth underwent an unceasing deluge of rain for 40 days and nights, resulting in a massive flood that submerged the world. In this defining moment, only Noah and those aboard his ark were spared, while every other living entity was eradicated from the Earth. This moment marked a profound and decisive turning point, symbolizing God's choice to enact a monumental punishment upon humanity for its irrevocable transgressions. This tale of the Great Flood, as narrated in Genesis chapters 6 to 9, stands as one of the most powerful narratives in the Bible. Despite its prominence, the narrative of Noah's flood continues to be one of the Bible's most debated accounts, particularly among skeptics. They argue that it is merely a reimagining of age-old tales from diverse cultures. These critics point to the lack of concrete evidence for a worldwide flood as a basis for questioning the veracity of both the Bible and Christianity. They reason that if the early chapters of the Bible are unreliable, then the credibility of the entire text comes into question. Numerous great cultures have their own flood narratives, with the Sumerian Epic of Gilgamesh standing out as particularly noteworthy. Regarded as the most ancient story ever recorded, and frequently cited as a potential inspiration for the biblical saga of Noah, the Epic of Gilgamesh has captivated scholars and Christians alike since its mid-19th century discovery amidst the ruins of Nineveh's vast library. In the tale, the main character, Gilgamesh, sets out on a journey to unravel the secrets of immortality. His quest leads him to meet Utnapishtim, who attained eternal life after building a ship to withstand the Great Deluge, a devastating flood that wiped out humanity. Utnapishtim preserved his family and various animal species by sheltering them on this ship. To check whether the floodwaters had diminished, he released birds. Ultimately, after the flood receded, his ship found refuge on a mountain. Indeed, upon hearing this story for the first time, you'd immediately see the similarities with that of Noah's experiences. The debate intensifies not only around the authenticity of the story's origin, but also regarding the likelihood of such an immense phenomenon ever taking place. British theologian Thomas Burnett contended that the current water reserves on Earth, even with an additional 40 days and nights of rainfall, could not account for the biblical flood's magnitude. Therefore, he proposed that the scriptural depiction of the Great Deluge should be understood metaphorically rather than literally. Meanwhile, English mathematician William Whiston, a contemporary of Sir Isaac Newton, presented an intriguing theory regarding the biblical flood's origins. He speculated that a comet passed exceptionally close to Earth millennia ago, close enough that its tail submerged our planet in water, and its gravitational force was strong enough to unleash massive oceans from beneath the Earth's crust. Whiston attributed this comet to causing the intense rainfall and the immense flood that, according to the Bible, cleansed the Earth of its sinful population. However, two scientists, Walter Pittman and William Ryan, concurred that a natural mother of floods did occur, pinpointing its location into the Black Sea region. According to their theory, the Black Sea, now saline, was originally a secluded freshwater lake bordered by agricultural land. This lake was dramatically transformed by a massive surge of water from the swelling Mediterranean Sea. The power of this deluge was estimated to be 200 times greater than that of Niagara Falls, violently sweeping away everything in its path. This idea motivated renowned underwater archaeologist Robert Ballard, famed for locating the Titanic wreck, to delve into the Black Sea's depths. The discoveries were startling, revealing tangible proof of a catastrophic event in the region. By examining shells found along the ancient shoreline at a depth of 400 feet and employing carbon dating techniques, Ballard and his team were able to establish a timeline, estimating that this dramatic event took place around 5000 BC. Fascinatingly, this time frame coincides with the period traditionally associated with Noah's biblical flood. As anticipated, the discovery of an abrupt flood in the region has been met with skepticism by several earth scientists. Utilizing extensive seismic surveys, analysis of drill cores, radiocarbon dating, and fossil examinations, other researchers have deduced that there is insufficient evidence to substantiate the notion of a rapid incursion of saline Mediterranean water into the Black Sea. This leads us to our most significant question. Have there been any discoveries that could substantiate the occurrence of Noah's flood? Fortunately, we can address this question with clarity. Our planet is rich with evidence that could potentially corroborate the phenomenon of a global flood. However, the real challenge lies in navigating through the prevailing narratives that have gained widespread acceptance. Let's begin with the most compelling evidence for a global flood, the fossils found in immense quantities worldwide frequently amassed in extensive deposits. The continents are shrouded in layers of rock rich in fossils predominantly laid down by water, which could be seen as corroborating a worldwide flood narrative. However, the prevailing scientific consensus is that these fossils represent a record of life and death spanning hundreds of millions of years, a view that is not without its controversies. It is essential to note that specific conditions are required for the formation of fossils. While the prevailing view suggests a slow and incremental process in line with traditional evolutionary theory, the reality points to the necessity of quick burial. This rapid entombment is crucial for halting decay or consumption by scavengers. Evidence of this can be seen in numerous fossils, capturing creatures in the midst of eating or even during the process of giving birth. A striking illustration of rapid burial is the discovery of a fossilized ichthyosaur, a marine reptile roughly 6 feet long, captured in the act of giving birth. In an instant, this enormous creature and her newborn were engulfed and preserved by a sudden deluge of lime mud. This suggests that only an event of sudden and widespread as the catastrophic global flood could swiftly entomb such large creatures in extensive layers, freezing a moment in time for eternity. Polystrate fossils exemplified by vertically oriented or inverted tree trunks traversing several strata challenge the notion of gradual sedimentary layer formation over millions of years, instead pointing to a scenario of swift burial. Here's a bigger puzzle. Marine organisms like fish, clams, and corals are not commonly found fossilized in the oceanic habitats where they once lived. Instead, these fossils are primarily found within sedimentary rocks on continents, frequently at high elevations. The striking discovery begs the question, how could this have happened? This points to a scenario where ocean waters might have extensively flooded the continents, offering a plausible explanation for this phenomenon. This perfectly aligns with the biblical description of a global flood, providing a striking correlation between geological findings and scriptural narratives. Let's take into account the ammonite fossils, essentially squids within coiled shells, found in limestone layers high in Nepal's Himalayas, including areas near Mount Everest summit. It's crucial to understand that Mount Everest, in its current form, did not exist before the flood. This suggests that ocean waters didn't have to surge over 29,000 feet above present sea level to engulf the area. Rather, the sedimentary layers now forming the Himalayas were originally deposited on the continent by the flood. Towards the flood's conclusion, these layers experienced dramatic buckling and uplift, leading to the creation of the majestic Himalayan range we see today. Another piece of compelling evidence supporting the Genesis narrative is the extensive distribution of sedimentary rock layers across the continents. Remarkably, many of these sedimentary layers extend not only across entire continents, but also between them, underscoring the immense scale and global impact of the event described in the biblical account. For instance, the Cretaceous chalk beds in southern England, forming the iconic white cliffs along the coast, extend west and north across England and re-emerge in Northern Ireland. These chalk beds also stretch in the opposite direction, crossing through France, the Netherlands, Germany, Poland, and southern Scandinavia, reaching as far as Turkey, Israel, Egypt, and even Kazakhstan. Impressively, these same chalk beds, complete with identical fossils and distinctive strata above and below, are also found across the vast area of the Midwest USA, spanning from Nebraska to Texas and from Alabama and Arkansas to Colorado. Additionally, these chalk layers are present in the Perth Basin of Western Australia, further demonstrating their widespread distribution. The most plausible explanation for these vast continental-scale sedimentary layers appears to be the phenomenon of ocean waters surging and spreading across continents during a global flood. Consider for a moment that we'd buy the traditional argument that sedimentary layers took centuries to accumulate. Under this assumption, one would anticipate finding weathered surfaces and signs of erosion between these layers, indicative of the millions of years of natural wear and tear. Conversely, if a cataclysmic global flood occurred, brief exposures of land would lead to rapid, extensive erosion, generally resulting in flat, smooth surfaces. Now, consider which scenario is more evident in the natural world. If you're thinking of the global flood scenario, you're on point. This is evident in locations like the Grand Canyon, where we observe flat, uninterrupted strata with no evidence of erosion, aligning with the aftermath of a vast rapid flood. Another notable example is the strata beneath the Grand Canyon's Tepic Sandstone, which shows signs of rapid, widespread erosion, leading to a remarkably flat surface. This wasn't a local event, but a global one, as similar patterns are found wherever Tepic Sandstone and its equivalents exist across North America, Africa, and the Middle East. This erosion affected diverse rock types, including granites, metamorphic rocks, and tilted sedimentary layers. The absence of weathering signs beneath this boundary suggests a fast, uniform erosion process on a large scale. Similarly, the Coconino Sandstone in the Grand Canyon, resting directly on the Hermit Foundation without any discernible intermediate layer, implies an immediate deposition following the Hermit Formation. This observation compellingly challenges the traditional notion of extended time gaps between these geological layers, hinting at a more rapid, uninterrupted process of formation. To reinforce our argument, numerous instances exist where rock layers have been bent without any signs of cracking. This indicates they were flexible during their deposition and subsequent folding. Such evidence points to a rapid process of deposition and folding while the layers were still soft, challenging the traditional view of their slow, gradual formation over millions of years. Indeed, evidence of a global flood from Noah's era is abundant. However, it's often overlooked due to its preconceived notions, causing us to miss the clear proofs that lie right before our eyes. This calls for an open-minded examination of the world around us to truly understand the historical events that shaped it. The narrative of Noah, the Ark, and the flood conveys a profound and inspired message of judgment and grace, teaching God's people across generations about His abhorrence of sin and His deep love for creation. Crucially, it culminates in the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, where God embodies the ultimate promise not to destroy the earth again, by bearing the judgment for sin Himself instead of imposing it on humanity.
There's an intriguing tale that the biblical giants Nephilim survived this great flood. Be sure to check this out.